Social Media University. So I've been following you on Instagram for a while, but this is the first time that we've actually had the opportunity to speak. So I've always been curious about what you do because I'm a huge sports fan, but you get to live, breathe, and work in sports every single day. So I'd love to hear more about your story and how you got to that point. So where did you grow up? Obviously, you were involved in sports, but how did you get involved in sports in the capacity that you are today?
Yes, so the origin story to it all is actually I grew up in a family business of beer distribution, and we're lucky enough to sell beer to the Ravens and the Orioles. So when I was growing up, my mom was the biggest sports fan in the family because she, who's now president of the family business, if the Ravens win, and they win in the playoffs, that means another week of beer sales. So I really grew up in the business of sports and watching her be a maniac, caring about, the wins for the bottom line. So I think I always had that ingrained in me. Then grew up in Maryland, a fun sports town. And, we just kind of always had entrepreneurship around me, stringing lacrosse sticks, selling brownies at school, whatever I could kind of do. And then when I got to school, I went down to UT Austin because I was a huge Vince Young fan. So Sports through and through. They had a sport management program. I knew I wanted to study that, work in it. Because I always tell people, there's a major difference between being a diehard sports fan and wanting to work in sports. Very separate. You need to want to love the business side of it. So got down there, started my own business with my roommate, selling phone cases with designs of sports players, worked with John Wall and, a bunch of guys, and then realized I didn't really love the merch side of it. So switched to creating the ad platform side of it, which was SnapBack Sports. Built it up, followed, Omar from House of Highlights and what they were doing, and kind of molded it on a platform that they weren't doing, sports content on, which was Snapchat. And then just the key to it all was engaging the followers and the fans, the community. I call them the SnapBack fam because they're family. Because I know I'd be nothing without them, and I've just been appreciative of them the whole way through.
So when did you start building SnapBack Sports?
I started, so funny enough, like I said, I grew up in sports business, and I named the page my senior year of of college, which would have been 2018 in the fall, real_sports, because my goal was not only to post entertaining sports content, highlights, memes, sports culture, but to go to games. I was at UT, so we had big football, basketball, 3 hours from Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, was home for Ravens, Orioles games, was visiting my girlfriend in New York for Knicks games. So I just had a lot of access, and I was like, Snap's the perfect platform. And this was before Instagram stories, right? This vertical, through the lens type of experience. And another major thing was, I was kind of spoiled growing up in that, I've been to a bunch of sports games, and I definitely took it for granted. 90, 80, 70% of my audience has never been to a game. So when I was showcasing these experiences, it was something new for them, from, the hot dog I'm eating to where the stadium is in relation to the city. So I think they really appreciated all of that. So yeah, it started as real_sports because I wanted to showcase real live sports. Well, there's a show called on HBO called Real Sports. So that was a major, major copyright thing. So we shifted to SnapBack about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, yes, that's if no one's been to a sporting environment, they don't get all the stuff that you're talking about. But it is such an experience, and that's why people fall in love with it, because there's so much that goes into it, and it's pretty difficult to emulate that in any other way. But I get totally what you mean. I think Snapchat would be the perfect medium for that because it's so immersive and almost like POV kind of thing, where it's literally you're living through it. So
yeah.
So when you came to this, obviously you had that vision in mind. Did you see Snapchat was the obvious place for this, or why did you decide on Snapchat?
Because Instagram and Twitter, there was just so much going on. There were, 6 Instagram basketball pages with 1 million followers. There were 12 Twitter pages that were hitting TweetDeck and 250K. And to grow on those platforms, just very difficult with that level of competition. I go to Snap, and there were some comedy pages that were very big, and there were some different types of content. But everyone was like, no one does sports here. It doesn't work. It doesn't hit. So I was paying, a higher CPM essentially. I would pay for shout outs, right, to grow. And they were like, if you pay, let's say $100, normally you'd add 100 followers or 1,000 followers on a comedy page. Sports, you're going to add 50. And I was like, that's okay. I want a sports following. So understanding that, and then I would pay for a shout out. Then I would go pitch some t-shirt company like I had a few years prior. Say, hey, you want to advertise for $100? Take the 100, flip it back into a shout out, and just snowball it from there.